What is up, and welcome to No Agenda, where I have my internet friends come teach me stuff. Today I'm sitting down with Maddy Smith, aka I can't do it. I wanted to do the what's your tagline that you use when you're doing like the vlog videos?
Do it. Just say
No,
it. Maddie with
you
the
do
fatty.
it. Yeah, there you go.
You got it? You got it? Yeah, just
I want
say
you to
it.
do it. Yeah.
Say it. I won't be offended at all. That's my name. That's my nickname.
I love it.
That's how we roll. If people don't know, then now they know.
Now they know. Maddy will be teaching us the art of roasting. So you might recognize Maddy from MTV's Wild and Out. She also wrote for the roast of Alec Baldwin on Comedy Central, performs regularly at some of the best clubs around the country and in the world, because we live in the best city for comedy, which is New York City.
Yep.
Maddy's also in New York, right?
That's correct. And we met at...
Yes. Okay. I was gonna lead with the story of how we met, but I wasn't sure if you remember.
Oh, I remember. Tell them the story.
I'll tell it from my perspective, and then you could tell it from yours,
Okay.
which is way more interesting. So Maddy's performing at the Stand, which has 2 floors. There's an upstairs room that's like smaller, very intimate. I'm talking like if you're on the front row, your legs are like on the stage.
Yeah.
I was there on a 3rd or 4th date. It was like a girl that I had just started seeing, and front row comedy date is not really the move.
Yeah.
Especially with comedians that do a lot of like crowd work and stuff. Like you're almost guaranteed to get roasted, right?
Especially in that room, it's like so well lit.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're on a third date, it's so obvious
right
that you're on a third date. So are you still dating the girl? That's what I really want to know.
No, unfortunately not.
Okay,
but
okay.
You went easy-ish on me. I was I think you took it easy on us. You said something like so you stopped your set, you kind of like did a double take, and you were like, oh, I recognize you. And I was like, oh shit. And then you were like, yeah, from TikTok, whatever. And then you asked me a question and I had a bad answer, and then you were like, oh yeah, you're gonna get canceled from your brand sponsorships or something like that.
Oh wow, I don't even remember that. All I remember is I'm doing stand up, and then all of a sudden corporate Rashad is right here in the front row. And I'm used to being like, I'm used to seeing you on TikTok doing jokes about Zoom meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to like, this is the first real life meeting, so it's good to meet you outside of that setting.
Yeah, it's great.
I've been following you since. It's been super fun to follow you travel around the world. We'll get into a bunch of like, I'm kind of just like a huge stand-up and comedy enthusiast, so I have like a bunch of like stand-up nerdy questions for you, and then hopefully you can tell us a little bit about how you roast people.
Okay, sounds good.
I feel like roasting is one of those skills. It's like a useful life skill, but it's almost like if you were really good at fighting, if you were like a trained fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So like people have to kind of be careful around you. Do you find that to be the case?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but lately I only roast for pay, so that helps.
okay, got it. You don't just roast your friends like willy-nilly, or your family at Thanksgiving.
I mean, obviously, if my friends pull up in a crazy outfit, I'm finna say something. But for the most part, I'm just like, people like this guy I dated this year. My friends at Wild and Out were like, be careful with her. She's gonna, don't get in a fight with her. She's gonna roast your ass. And it's not like that.
No, it's reserved.
Yeah, it's reserved. It's in the can waiting. And unless I'm getting paid, I have no interest in roasting you.
Amazing. And so the Wild and Out does a bunch of roast sketch type stuff. And then you've written for the Comedy Central roast as well, right?
Yeah, I've written kind of lightly for those. And then I also have written for like the Friars Club roasts and wrestling roasts. Like I did the roast of Ric Flair. I think the most fun was the Friars Club roast of Gloria Allred, because that was in like 2018 and it was supposed to be Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, shit.
But he got canceled. So they replaced him with Gloria Allred, who's like a famous lawyer who takes down like men who are like predators. So she's like a Me Too lawyer. And it was crazy.
Do you prefer to be the one behind the scenes writing, or do you want to be kind of like the face of the roast?
I prefer to be on camera.
Yeah.
But I also don't mind writing. You know, I write for... They have some writers for Wild and Out to help with the celebrity guests. So I do that too. And that feels really good when they get a joke that works. That feels like almost better than your own stuff working. But I definitely prefer to be on camera just because I'm so beautiful.
Of course. Yeah. And then you can do your dances too.
Absolutely. It's just like a waste of talent for me not to be up there.
So how did you get into comedy?
Well, I always knew I was funny. And then I moved to New York City 7 years ago. So I was like in the center of comedy. And I was like, well, I might as well start because you can do it anonymously here.
Yeah. Late night, open mics, like.
Yeah. It's like the same thing as like, no one knows I'm doing this. So let me just see where it goes. And then it starts like, you start getting some momentum. So I started then and I just never stopped. It's a really boring story.
I know that it's pretty hard to get into the regular booking system of New York City just because of how competitive it is, how many comedians there are. Yeah. Do you remember a specific night that you were like at an open mic or a more chill thing? Did someone like see you when you were crushing? And then from then on, it was easier? Like, how do you get into the rotation of, so the Comedy Cellar, the Stand, these are like, the best clubs. These are where the tourists come.
I think like getting your first club is where it starts because then all the club owners know each other and all the comics. It's all the same comics. So I remember like my first was like this competition I did at a club called Stand Up New York, which is on the Upper West Side. And they had like 50 comics doing 5 minutes. Also, you could maybe get past at the club. And the person judging it was the booker of the club. Her name was Candy. And then there was another judge of that, and that was the booker of New York Comedy Club. And I was like a year and a half in, and I got passed at both those clubs through that festival. And it was so random and so lucky.
Oh, interesting.
So they both saw me there. And thank fucking God I did well, and then did well at my audition there. But it's like such a crapshoot because you can also like email the clubs and they'll be like, we're not having auditions for 3 if
No way.
But if one of them sees you like out and about, you have more of a likelihood of getting in at the club rather than emailing.
Yeah, I've heard it's like part just grind. So like going to open mics all the time and getting better and being good, but also part like networking and hanging around late at the clubs and like the bookers there. And then maybe you, I don't know.
It's like networking. It's like just making sure that you're always like everything gets back. So like you have to like be a nice person too. Like if you're a dick, it's going to get back to you, especially in the early years. So it's like you just have to like make sure you get up as much as you can and then also be nice and also be good when you're supposed to. That's really it. Because even if those two bookers weren't there at that show, I would have met them within the next year. So all I have to do is make sure that I'm staying good.
I assume you had a normal job when you were there or when you were doing this, when you were auditioning.
Yeah, I had like a finance job.
But eventually you decided like, fuck it, I'm doing this full time.
When I got on Wild and Out, that's when I quit.
Okay, because that's more of like a contract work where they're like, a network is paying you.
Yeah, a network is paying you. You're making enough money to leave your job, and you're about to have enough exposure to not have to work at a job.
Did you interview with Nick Cannon?
I auditioned in front of him, yeah.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he actually is like part of the selection process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was there. All the producers were there.
Do you remember what you did?
Oh, I just like did stand up, a little bit of roasting, and then we did a callback. There's a whole video about it on YouTube, but we did like a whole callback that involved rap battling. And there's a whole video. You guys should watch it. It's like Road to Season 14. It's pretty good, actually.
Now I'll drink like once a month, go to a party. All it takes is a sip of wine for me to be like, who should I here? And my mom's like, it's a family party. I made Nick Cannon laugh a lot.
I've seen some of your compilation videos of Best of Maddy's roasts on Wild and Out. It's quite entertaining.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
I don't know if there's a hierarchy. Maybe you can tell me. But like for stand-up, I feel like I see people get booked in these big clubs and then people start to do the road when I guess you can sell tickets. Or like how does that transition happen into start? Because every week it looks like I was looking at your website, Connecticut, Nashville, DC in the next coming weeks. You were just in London, Ontario, touring with Bert Kreischer. Like, how does that transition actually work?
I don't know. It all kind of builds up. Like you start doing like small headlining in the city and then you start kind of closing out shows. And then you get an agent. I got an agent. That's why I booked all this stuff because they just work on your behalf. So most people out here have agents who are doing all of this for us. Some people do it without agent, or they only do the manager, or they have their club contact list. But I just started headlining this year. So you start building your following, you start showing that you can sell tickets, or you start working clubs that sell tickets no matter what. so you don't have to worry about tickets that much. But basically, like if you're ready to get out there, that's when you start doing it. And if you get an agent.
Like there are clubs that are known around the country that are just going to sell out clubs no matter, they're just like known for booking good comics. And so you just kind of have to show up and do your thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus you doing more of the like heavy lifting on promotion.
Yeah, most clubs will sell tickets, but you want to sell out a show so that you can get more shows and so that you can come back in a year and blah, blah, blah. It's like a whole competition with yourself.
For sure. It sounds, it's obviously a huge grind. Like how have you, I know you're relatively new to it, but how have you adjusted to the life on the road? You live in New York City. It's maybe easy to get places because there's so many like flights and airport hubs available, but like from an endurance perspective, do you enjoy it? Like, is it fulfilling enough that it's like, fuck it?
I definitely enjoy it a lot, but I definitely always feel like ugly. I always feel a little bit ugly. I always feel a little bit like
you look beautiful to me.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, when you travel and you're like, I look fucking disgusting and there's nothing that can change it. Like I'm always dehydrated. I always feel ugly. I always feel fat. It's fun and awesome, but you just have to like get rid of any sort of holdups you have. Like when you travel a lot, you have to like get rid of like your style and your hygiene a little bit. Everything gets compromised. Like you can't be out there like trying to be vegan or gluten-free or good luck. You can't be out there like maybe like trying not to drink because you gotta you just have to like get rid of any sort of restrictions that you might have because you're gonna be living out of a suitcase and you're gonna be starving and the only option is gonna be like Hooters and you have to be like, okay, I will eat chicken wings even though I'm trying to be healthy. Like you have to get rid of all of those kind of things when you're traveling. And you have to like go with the flow and know that you probably won't sleep. You're going to have early flights. There's going to be flights that are going to be missed. It's like not normal. It's not a normal lifestyle.
Yeah. And it always does feel like some of the cities that you're performing in or people are like, I don't know. I feel like Grand Rapids always comes up. Is that like a big comedy city?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of people have been there lately because they have a few different clubs. But definitely people do a lot of like Florida. There's a shit ton of rooms in Texas. And the South is like fucking huge.
They love comedy?
Canada is actually really cool. Yeah.
What are your observations from performing to different like microcultures in the US or in Canada or something like that?
Canada has the best crowds. I feel like in America, we are all really sensitive right now. White people think it's their fault. Everyone else is like pissed off.
Yeah.
And the comedians are also on edge on stage. Like, whoa, was this something I blah, blah, blah? And we're like, no, you just said the joke wrong. Like everyone's on the defense. Whereas Canada, when I was just there, it just feels like they're just there to laugh. They laugh at themselves. They laugh at us. Like it's comedy first. But here there's like more of this going on. I don't really notice, but I did notice in Canada where the shows were like fun first and everyone was there just for jokes and no one was like, that's not me being like, I can't say anything anymore. It's more just like, oh, Canada was like, oh shit. You guys are just like happy to be at a show where you're supposed to laugh. Whereas you can tell like in the States, there's still like a bunch of hangups personally and, like on a more macro level as well. But I will say like Florida and Texas are very similar, like very laugh oriented places. But then you go somewhere like maybe like the rural parts of Georgia where they're more conservative. You got the more like Baptist, Methodist type of stuff going on there. Texas and Florida are so like funny. You can say like abortion, guns, then they'll laugh at you. But if you try to go there in like other parts of the South, they won't mess around that much. They're not as party oriented.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Some of the clubs you perform in are more intimate, like New York Comedy Club or the Comedy Cellar in New York City. These are my favorite clubs because they're in a back room and there's no windows and it's dark. And actually, I only made the realization in COVID when I saw a show at the Stand, but it was outdoors. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, I'm sure you do. But they were doing those like outdoor shows like right in front of the thing. And it was brutal because like you'd have sirens coming by and like a homeless dude and it was just like kept getting interrupted. And then it occurred to me why comedy clubs always feel like they're in dark, intimate spaces, is so that you can kind of feel like you can say whatever. But then you also perform at like, and Bert does big shows. I don't know if they're arenas, but like they're more theater venue type places. Like, what's the difference between those for you?
I guess the difference is like, first of all, your pacing, you have to slow down a little bit, and you kind of have to be there for everyone there. And I guess the cellar, like, or the stand, I'm more just like kind of like goofing around. Whereas like a theater, you can't really like, you can't do like the little things that you can do at the cellar, and you can't do like the little making fun of people because no one can see those people. So it's more like a bigger act, where the cellar is like more pure comedy. It's still very fun.
It's still very fun. Okay.
Yeah.
You find it fun to perform in front of like thousands of people.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like you have to be a little bit more aware of different things.
Yeah, it's different. Like at the cellar, you can go up and be like, do a joke you wrote that day. And if it doesn't work, you can like talk your way out of it. But you can't do that like at a theater. You have to have your act pretty polished.
Which you're very, at least from my exposure to you, it's very free form. It's very quick. It's like joke, 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 joke.
Yeah.
It's not very like Seinfeld being maybe the other extreme of like, he's just like this perfect sort of act that he's constructed.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more loose than a more traditional stand-up. And that helps too with like how much the rooms and the scenes change. I'm super flexible.
I feel like that bodes well. Maybe this is a theory that I have, and you can say if you agree or not. But like, because social media is a really big part of how stand-up comedians seem to be growing today, I've heard and read that like the comedians that are able to do more crowd work, be more flexible, tell more jokes on the spot if it's recorded, can release that sort of like without having to sacrifice or compromise jokes.
Right.
Because kind of once it goes into the internet, you know, people have seen it. It doesn't hit as hard when they're seeing it for the first time, right?
That's what they say, but I really don't think, because, you know, like we scroll so much. And I personally, when I'm scrolling, I don't retain anything. So like if I was watching like Bill Burr and he did like a 1-minute clip and then I saw him, I wouldn't be like, we saw this. I would be like, oh, that sounds familiar.
Interesting.
So I think like there are a lot of comedians, like obviously if you release something and it goes viral, like be careful about putting in your set. But I think we have looser, we can be a little looser, and you can like still do material if you put it out there. But you definitely have to be careful with what you put out there. And people do a lot of crowd work because of that.
Because pre-social media, it was write an hour, like for a really big comic, it was like write an hour, tour it all over the country, and then release it to a network so that everyone could watch it.
Right.
Versus now it's like sort of releasing 1-minute clips on TikTok and stuff, and things going viral.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely watered down. And it's also like the pace is like rapid fire. You almost have to be like, it's okay if I don't put out a crowd work clip in this month. Like people are like really like putting stuff out there, and they're forgetting like what their own timeline is, because you open social media and someone has a new project every day. So you really have to like focus on your own paper too.
Do you like managing the social media aspect? That feels more like business admin type work. Or like, do you do it yourself? Do you have someone do it for you?
Yeah, I do it myself. I don't know. It kind of just feels like doing your little marketing. I don't like it, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's like why I started stand up, but I also like, you think it's a great tool. And I also I'm not someone who's like, I can't fucking get behind this. Well, like I'm not someone like that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't lead with social media. I'm more just like, oh shit, got to jump on there and do a little promo. But I think a lot of people in stand-up resent it, or people go too hard on it. I'm trying to like find the line between being on social media and not putting all your shit out there.
I enjoy your little vlogs. I know those are a lot of work because I've done them myself.
Yeah, they're a lot.
You take different shots and then you have to cut it together, and then you have to like, you sound like such an idiot like recording the, hey, it's your girl Maddy with the fatty, and
I know. I wish I was like Gen Z. I wish I had like a more like social media mindset, but there's so much you got to take, so many photos and videos, and blah, blah, blah.
Also, consuming is I don't know if this is something that you feel, but like I mostly operate on social media. And so whether you like it or not, you're sort of forced to compare yourself to others because you get on the platform to post and then you see other people posting and stuff like that. So I don't know if that happens with like comedians and, oh, this person's doing a show in this city. I got to fucking book a bunch of shows coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I try to keep my eye on my own paper, but every so often I'll have like a little spike of like, oh my God. But I've been really good at like not comparing myself to others.
Good.
It also helps when you are starting to succeed.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah.
The people that are telling you not to compare are always like the best ones. And it's like, okay, well, fuck you.
I know. It's literally like Chris Rock. And you're like, yeah, duh.
You should compare, honestly. That would make you feel better.
I compare to others who are doing worse than me. And I'm like, I'm doing great.
That's what you should do, because the people that are doing worse than you are probably the people that were your peers. But the problem is when we upgrade our life, if you have your big break or you get signed by Wild 'N Out, you start touring the country, you change the goalposts. Like you change your peer set to, oh, well, now I'm comparing myself to it's like, well, why? Why don't you compare yourself to the fucking losers that you left behind?
That's what I'm saying. I'm staying compared to them. I'm not comparing myself to people on Wild 'N Out. I'm comparing to the open micers who I started with who have now quit.
Yeah. New York City class of 2018 open micers or whatever it is. That's what you should compare yourself. I bet you're in the 99.999th percentile of that class.
Easily. And the rest of them are having babies. Fucking trash.
Yeah. I've heard one more thing on the Bert thing, just because I've heard from so many other comics that the taking the shirt off thing is like just so electric in the stadium. How is it live?
It goes crazy. They freak out. They already are freaking out.
Let's give people context, unless in case they don't know who Bert Kreischer is or like what this move is that he does.
So Bert Kreischer has been doing comedy like 20 plus years. He started longer than that, right? Because he graduated college and was like a partier in college, and Rolling Stone wrote about him. And so he started stand up, like taking his shirt off and stuff like that. And now he still does it. And
I didn't realize he used to do it all the time.
Yeah, he still does it. So he takes his shirt off and his whole audience loves it. His whole audience loves him. That you don't even realize that he's not wearing a shirt after a certain point. It doesn't even faze you.
He does it at the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like a closer.
No, he goes out and then he takes his shirt off. And he always was just like, I want to be comfortable on stage and I'm comfortable with my shirt off.
What if he's in fucking Denver or somewhere cold?
I don't know. We were in Canada and he still did it. And he's in Alaska now, so.
No way. Alaska in fucking December and he's just topless?
And he's taking his shirt off. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was like he crushed it. It's like almost the encore move. Like he comes back on and he takes his shirt off, and maybe he does it sometimes and he doesn't do it others. But this is just something he's just been doing his whole career.
Always.
Wow.
Always. Yeah.
He kills me.
Yeah.
He's just one of those people that he could be saying anything and I would be laughing because his face, his expressions, his like laugh when it goes up to like that high pitch, and him and Tom do their podcast.
I know. It's so cute. Like he's so nice, and he's really nice like in person too. And he just likes to party, and he likes having people around.
Is there a crew? We don't have to go in the gossip direction, and we can stay away from that. But is there like cliques within the New York comedy scene that sort of develop at different clubs? Are there ones that you hang around more than others, like homies of yours?
Yeah. I guess there's always cliques. Like when I first started, there was like crazy like Brooklyn versus the clubs drama. Like everyone doing Brooklyn.
Really?
Yeah. It was like there was like a whole Brooklyn crew of people. And then there was all these club people, and they would like call each other hacks all day. But then that sort of ended with COVID because the Brooklyn scene didn't really recover, and a lot of them moved to LA. And now it's kind of like, oh, there's a bunch of people who are only at the Cellar. There's only at New York Comedy Club, only at the Stand. But a lot of us just kind of bounce around everywhere. And it's not really as cliquey, honestly. Everyone just kind of shows up. And like by the time you're at my level, if people are still a comedian, you're like, all right, I'll talk to you.
Got you.
But you have to wade through all the people who suck and let them quit. But now it's just like showing up at the office,
seeing your coworkers
and being like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally coworkers. Yeah. So there's not really cliques. Like if you're good, you'll get in.
But is there like a community aspect of it? Is it like you guys get together on Saturday and go to brunch and like you just hang out with comedians?
Not really. Not really.
No. You guys don't do. We learned our lesson about scheduling things in the morning.
Literally. There's not as much of that, but there is like we all have like close friends in comedy, and so and there's comedians who drink. So I drink, so I'm always like out late with a lot of them too. But then there's a lot of sober comedians, and then there's like pothead comics. So you kind of just find who matches your lifestyle too. Sober comedian seems tough. Yeah, there's a lot of sober comics these days, though. You say that with a little type of way, yeah. Well, I just like a drink. I just like a drink or 10, you know?
Like we're on the road. We're in fucking Grand Rapids. We might as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Amazing. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know how academic this is going to be. I'll kind of pass it to you if you have any opening ideas for if I'm a listener and I'm like, all right, I want to roast my friends. Like, where do you start? How do you think about roasting people? And then
start with appearance.
Start with the weirdest ones, yeah, and their appearance for sure.
Appearance, and then go from there. Start with like face, feet, hands, and then physique, and then outfit. And then if you can't get anything on that, go for a character roast.
Oh, why do you do that?
Just because everyone can see it.
Okay, so it's more relatable.
Funny, yeah.
It's not out of mercy to the roastie.
You're not like, oh, your wife cheated on you for a reason. You're just talking about their goofy outfit, goofy hair, goofy body, and then go from there.
Right, but you're not doing it because it hurts less to the person. You're doing it because everyone else is going to be able to easier get behind the joke and laugh at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't really care about hurting them.
Right.
I'm just doing my job.
Because they've signed up to be in this setting. And that's what your original point when we opened. You said you don't roast people unless you're getting paid for it, which is, you know, I'm sure you're joking, half joking, but like there is some truth to like you have to be in the setting of, hey, we all said it was okay that we're going to roast each other. So now it's like no holds bars, limitless. Like I can say whatever I want, carte blanche. Or is there still things that you don't touch?
You still kind of like have an art to respect about it. You know, like if you're roasting a guy whose mom died in a weird way, I would never bring that up. You like know like what to not say. If you're supposed to keep it playful, but also like you can go dark, but at the end of the day, it should be like more playful than crazy.
Okay, but to play devil's advocate, the roast of maybe it was Justin Bieber and Pete Davidson was there and they kept roasting him about his dad.
Oh, Pete Davidson's dad. That's different because it's like public knowledge. But if I was roasting someone one-on-one and he wore shirts like I'm just thinking about like Wild 'N Out. Like if I'm on Wild 'N Out and I know my friend Tyler's loves his mom who died, I would never. But if Pete Davidson got on SNL after his dad died in 9/11, yeah, and they're going to make fun of that.
Yeah, it's nuanced. Is it easier to roast people that you know well or strangers that you're meeting for the first time?
They're both kind of the same, but no, the strangers you know well is better, or people you know well is better because it's funnier, because you guys can start laughing back and forth about what you're wearing and stuff like that.
Okay, well, let's get into a little bit of like process. So if you said you wrote a little for Alec Baldwin's roast. You mentioned another person that I forget the name, but you've written for a couple of these. Like, do you remember when you first got the assignment or the gig? What did you do? Like, what was your process for roasting Alec? I assume you don't know him on a personal level, but there's a lot of public information about him.
I just listed like everyone who was on the dais and just started like writing quick lines about each of them. So if you've roasted long enough, you can get lines out pretty quickly. So then you have like 10 on each person. And then if it's a dais, you start like interconnecting them. So like blah, blah, blah has less blah, blah, blah than blah, blah, blah. You start connecting them all.
Got it. Yeah.
It's actually very straightforward.
Who was the dais for Alec Baldwin?
Who was on there? I think Chris Redd was on it. I think Hilaria was on it. I can't remember. It was a while ago.
They're usually like easy targets, right? It's like people that have a lot of
Yeah.
Justin Bieber. I mean, he's just got like years of like random shit that he's been doing.
Definitely easy targets. I can't remember who else was on it though. That was maybe 2018 or something.
Okay. So you write down a couple like quips that you could maybe do for each of them based on what's publicly available about them, based on what you know about them. Are there areas that you don't touch? Like they talk a lot about like punching down and punching up in comedy and like, you know, lines you don't cross.
If I'm writing, not really, because you're kind of just like pitching quantity over quality. So the more you write, the more good stuff you're going to come out with. So I try not to be like too sensitive when I'm writing. If I'm performing a roast, I kind of just make sure the joke is funny first before like mean or dark. So as long as it's funny, I think it's fine.
You don't always know until it comes out.
Yeah, true.
Have you found yourself in that place before? Like where you made a roast, you're like, fuck, that was more fucked up than it was funny.
Yeah, a couple times. I think maybe on Wild and Out, I made a joke about like Travis Scott Astroworld, like that festival where people died.
Oh, yeah.
And people were like, that's not, you can't really do that. And I guess you learn, but the audience still laughed. So I don't know. It's really up to your discussion.
There's probably another skill of like being able to get yourself out of those situations when.
Oh, yeah, totally. You have to be ready for like if something bombs. But that's just comedy in general too, like knowing when to get out of a weird set and stuff like that.
Is there someone who's like particularly good on Wild and Out at roasting?
All of the 85 South guys are really good. So DC Young Fly, Carlos Miller, Chico Bean. Justina is a rapper. She's really good at roasting in rap style. And then probably us, probably me and the 85 South guys are maybe the best ones out there.
Some of this is written, some of it is improvised in the spot, and probably everything in between. But like, if you really don't have one, are there ones that you can just kind of pull from that work unanimously? Maybe for hecklers in a comedy club or something?
Yeah, or you can be like, or you can pull out something quickly that's like, why am I even here? You don't even, this is your first time talking to a woman. Like you can pull out like some quick saves. Or you can just be like...
Or like you called that guy a virgin once.
Yeah,
the short guy.
You do something quick to throw them off. But yeah, it's also scary when you run out of stuff.
I gotta imagine the pressure of like being... Did it take you a while to get used to that when you were on Wild and Out? Like surrounded by a bunch of people. If people haven't seen the show or... I don't know. I can't imagine anyone's not seen Wild and Out. But when there's like two teams, and there's a bunch of people, and there's a huge audience, and they're like, Maddie, it's your turn. Like, do you thrive in that kind of pressure?
No, it's really scary. It's really scary. You're just really scared that you're going to choke or forget something and you're like freaking out. But then once you're done, it feels like you just did like 10 lines of coke, but leading up to it, it's really scary.
Did it take you a couple seasons to get used to?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm still not used to it because you're like, now there's pressure because I've done so many good roasts that people want you to deliver again.
They're like, oh, Maddie's up. Yeah.
Which can psych you out even more.
So you've talked a little bit about like the process of how these get shot. So I initially, in my novice entertainment brain, thought like each one gets shot and then released, and then maybe next season you come back. But I think you were saying on an interview once that you like kind of batch them, and so you'll shoot for like 2 weeks in a row, and then they'll use the content for coming weeks. So like, is there an element of in week 1 versus week 4 of shooting where you feel like more creative drain?
Well, we film for like 2 weeks at a time. We've only done like 4 weeks once. So usually it's 2 weeks. And yeah, definitely. I think people start off like cold, and then by the end they're more warmed up, which is just anything you're going to do. But I don't really think people like talk about like week 1 versus week 2 or anything like that.
It doesn't get harder as you go along to think of the same joke because you're just like every day waking up having to be funny. Yeah,
but it's also like easier because the more you get close to the end, the more you're kind of just like, fuck it, I'll just try anything.
Do you have any thoughts on hecklers or roasting hecklers?
No, I just kind of try to ignore them until they get discouraged. That's really all you have to do with hecklers is like ignore or just like shut down immediately. But I think engaging with them is just not going to make anyone happy.
Sounds really hard.
Yeah, could be worse.
I mean, I feel like I've learned a lot about roasting. I want to try on my friends now, but no one's paying me to roast them, unfortunately.
Yeah, but once you You haven't gotten paid yet, so you can still do it for free. Once you get paid, that's when you stop. Yeah, so you're still in training.
That's when you have to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like Mike Tyson can't get in street fights anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool, Maddy. Well, thank you so much. It's been so much fun getting to know you outside of the context of sitting at one of your shows. So
I know. Are you going to come to a show sometime soon?
I will. I'll come, probably try to stay local in New York City. What are you doing most these days? Comedy Club, or where can people find you?
Mostly the Cellar, mostly New York Comedy Club, and then occasional like indie shows in Brooklyn, but you don't want to go to those.
Okay, yeah. Comedy Cellar I'll go to if of it. It's just like you have to book so far in advance these days, I feel like.
I know, it's so annoying.
Do you do McDougal or do you just rotate through them?
Just them all. So yeah, I guess like if people want to come to a show, just like check the Cellar's lineups and see when I'm on.
Anything you want to plug?
My Instagram, actually all my medias are So Maddy Smith. And my website, maddysmithcomedy.com, is where all my tour dates are listed.
You've got coming up shows all over the East Coast, right? DC?
Yeah, pretty much. DC, Nashville, Austin, everywhere.
Also, people should listen to the podcast, which is called That Time of the Week, I think, and it's you and your three girlfriends.
Yeah, definitely listen.
Great name for a pod.
Thank you.
Cool, Maddy.
Thank you for having me.